The warning: the assembly convenes. The central music chamber of the galactic assembly floated in the void between stars. Inside its crystalline walls, representatives from 203 civilizations gathered for an emergency session. Air was thick with tension. Translators hummed softly as they converted thousands of languages into comprehensible thoughts. At the center platform stood Supreme Commander Vex of the Enigma Empire. His towering frame cast shadows across the chamber floor. His scales gleamed like polished obsidian under the soft lights. 3 pairs of eyes scanned the assembled delegates with unconcealed contempt. Declaration of intent. Vex's voice boomed through the chamber without need for amplification. The Nigma Empire has made its decision. We will expand into the outer rim sectors, all colonies. They will submit to our authority within 60 planetary rotations. This includes the 17 settlements established by the species calling themselves humans. A collective gasp rippled through the assembly. Delegates turned to each other, exchanging worried glances. Some covered their auditory organs, others shook their heads in disbelief. The humans were newcomers to galactic society, having achieved faster than light travel only 4 centuries ago. But those who paid attention knew something the Nigma did not. The elder speaks. High Chancellor Moros of the Athethuran Collective rose slowly from his seat. His ancient body moved with difficulty, supported by anti-gravity fields. He had witnessed 11,000 years of galactic history. His people had seen empires rise and crumble like sand castles before ocean waves. Supreme Commander Vex Moros began, his voice carrying the weight of millennia. I implore you to reconsider this course of action. The assembly has observed humanity for 2 centuries. We have studied their nature, their history, their capabilities. What we discovered should give pause to any civilization considering conflict with them. Arrogance meets wisdom. Beaks laughed. Sound like grinding metal. The Atherian collective fears a species barely out of their cradle. The Nigma Empire has conquered 6,000 worlds. Our fleet contains 40 million warships. Our soldiers number in the trillions. We have destroyed civilizations that existed for eons before humans crawled from their caves. What threat could they possibly pose? Director Sela of the Corvani Institute stood next. Her 4 arms gestured at a holographic display that materialized in the chamber's center. Commander, my research teams have compiled extensive data on human biology and psychology. What we found is unprecedented in known galactic history. The research reveals truth. The hologram showed the rotating image of Earth, a blue and green sphere covered mostly in water. Humans evolved on a death world. Sela continued. Their planet sits in a region of space bombarded by cosmic radiation. The surface experiences extreme temperature variations. Natural disasters occur with frightening regularity. Predators more powerful than humans roam their continents for millions of years. She zoomed in on human anatomy. Yet humans became the dominant species not through strength or speed or natural weapons. They succeeded through persistence, adaptability, and the most dangerous trait of all, the refusal to accept defeat. Biological weapons. The hologram shifted to show human cellular structure. Their bodies produce adrenaline, a chemical compound that temporarily enhances their physical Capabilities during stress, they can function with severe injuries that would incapacitate most species. They're immune. Systems have adapted to countless pathogens over millions of years of evolution on a hostile world. Vex waved a clawed hand dismissively. Biology means nothing against plasma weapons and antimatter missiles. The Nigma Empire has technology centuries ahead of human capabilities. Our shields can withstand star core temperatures. Our weapons can vaporize continents. The historians warning Ambassador Thel of the Preservation Council stepped forward. Her species existed solely to record and maintain galactic history. Supreme Commander, you should know what happened to the Krell Dominion. They were a mighty empire much like yours. 15 years ago, they attacked a human mining colony. 3,000 humans died in the initial assault. The chamber fell silent. Every delegate knew what came next, but Thel continued anyway. The Krell expected surrender. Instead, humanity declared total war. Within 3 standard years, the Kree Dominion ceased to exist. Not defeated, not conquered, erased. Every Kree world was occupied. Their entire fleet was destroyed. Their leadership was tried for war crimes. Today the Krell exists as a protectorate under human administration. The human ambassador arrives. The chamber doors opened with a soft whisper. Ambassador David Chin of Earth walked into the hall. He was unremarkable in appearance compared to the exotic aliens surrounding him. Average height, dark hair graying at the temples, wearing a simple black suit, but his eyes held something that made even Vex pause. They held certainty. Chin walked to the center platform and stood directly before the Nigma commander. Despite the significant size difference, he showed no fear. Supreme Commander Vex, Chin said quietly, I have heard your declaration. I am authorized by the United Earth government to deliver a formal response. Earth's position. Chin pulled a small device from his pocket and pressed it. A holographic document appeared, written in all 203 known galactic languages simultaneously. Humanity claims no desire for conflict. We have established our colonies peacefully. We trade fairly with all species. We contribute to the galactic assembly. We wish to continue this peaceful coexistence. He paused and his expression hardened. However, if the Nigma Empire attacks our colonies, it will be considered an act of war against all of humanity. We will respond with the full force of our capabilities, and I promise you, Commander, you have never seen what humanity is truly capable of. When we stop being peaceful, dismissal, and pride. Vex looked down at the human with amusement in all 6 eyes. Your words are brave, little human, but words do not stop invasion fleets. The Nigma Empire has 40 million warships. How many ships does Earth possess? Chin smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Classified information, Commander, but I can tell you this. It is not the number of ships that wins wars. It is the willingness to use them without hesitation or mercy. He turned to address the entire assembly. My government has instructed me to inform this gathering that we have prepared for this scenario. For 200 years we have built, trained, and equipped for the possibility that someone would see our peaceful nature as weakness. Final warning. Chin looked back at Vex. Athathuran Collective warned you about our persistence. The Corvani Institute warned you about our biology. The Preservation Council warned you about. Our history, I will give you one final warning, Commander, one that comes not from research or observation, but from 4 million years of human evolution. He stepped closer to the Nigma, Commander. We are persistence hunters, Commander. On our ancient world, our ancestors would select prey and follow it, not for hours, for days, for weeks if necessary. The prey would run, it would hide, it would fight, but humans kept coming. Always walking, always tracking, never stopping. Eventually the prey would collapse from exhaustion, and the humans would be there still, coming to finish what they started. The declaration. Chen's voice dropped to barely above a whisper, but every being in the chamber heard him clearly. If you attack our colonies, we will not stop until the Nigma Empire is a footnote in history books. We will pursue you across every star system. We will dismantle your civilization piece by piece. We will not tire. We will not forgive. We will not forget. And when your grandchildren ask what happened to the mighty Nigma Empire, the answer will be they challenged humanity. Vex stared at the human for a long moment, then he threw back his head and laughed. The Nigma Empire does not fear threats from primitives. Our fleet departs for human space in 10 planetary rotations. Prepare your colonies for subjugation or destruction. The choice is yours. The die is cast. Chin nodded slowly. Then, may your gods have mercy on you, Commander, because humanity will not. He turned and walked toward the exit. As he reached the door, he looked back one final time. For the record, we did warn you. Remember that in the days to come. The door closed behind him with a soft click that somehow sounded like the sealing of a tomb. The Galactic Assembly erupted in urgent conversations. Chancellor Morrow sat heavily in his seat, his ancient face showing deep sadness. Director Sela began transmitting all human research data to her Institute secure archives, knowing it would be needed for the historical record of what was about to unfold. And Supreme Commander Vex stood tall and proud, confident in his empire's power, completely unaware that he had just signed the death warrant for everything he held dear. The warning had been given. Now would come the reckoning. The reckoning. The Armada arrives. 10 planetary rotations pass like grains of sand through an hourglass. The Nigma fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Genesis Prime system. 5,000 warships materialized in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming like dark jewels against the stars. Supreme Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominance. Around him, officers monitored hundreds of tactical displays. Every screen showed the same thing: total numerical superiority. Genesis Prime was a modest colony world. 20 million humans lived on its surface, farming the fertile plains and mining the mineral-rich mountains. Intelligence reports indicated minimal military presence, perhaps a dozen defense stations and a small patrol fleet. Vex smiled with all three mouths. This would be over before the day ended. First contact, a communication request, flashed on the main screen. Vex gestured for his communications officer to accept it. A human woman appeared on the display. She wore a dark blue uniform with silver insignia on her shoulders. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a tight bun. Her green eyes were calm, almost serene. I am Admiral Rebecca Torres of the United Earth Defense Force. You are in violation of human sovereign space. You have one opportunity to withdraw your forces and avoid bloodshed. Vex leaned forward. His command throne, I am supreme. Commander Vex of the Enigma Empire, your colony has 60 seconds to transmit its unconditional surrender. Failure to comply will result in orbital bombardment. Resistance is futile. The trap springs. Admiral Torres tilted her head slightly as if considering his words, then she smiled. It was a cold smile that made Vex scales prickle with unexpected unease. Commander, I want you to remember something. We warned you. The entire Galactic Assembly warned you. You chose not to listen. She leaned closer to her camera. Now you will learn why the transmission ended. For 3 heartbeats nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to tear apart. Thousands of human vessels materialized around the Nigma fleet. They had not come from hyperspace. They had been there all along, hidden by technology. The Nigma had never encountered stealth fields dropped simultaneously, revealing the true strength of Earth's military technology unveiled. Vex tactical officer shouted in alarm. Commander, enemy contacts surrounding our position. Count is 8,000 vessels and rising. They are appearing from nowhere, but they had not appeared from nowhere. They had been waiting cloaked and silent for 10 days. Humanity had known exactly when and where the Nigma would arrive. They had prepared the battlefield with patience that only persistent hunters could muster. The human ships were different from anything in the Nigma database. Sleek and angular, they looked more like predators than vessels. Their hulls were matte black, absorbing sensor beams rather than reflecting them. Weapon ports glowed with ominous blue light. The first strike. Vex recovered from his shock quickly. He had not conquered 6,000 worlds by being slow to act. All ships battle formation Gamma. Focus fire on the largest enemy vessels. Show these primitives the power of the Nigma Empire. The Nigma fleet opened fire. Thousands of plasma bolts and antimatter missiles streak across space toward the human vessels. The night sky lit up like a festival of death, but something was wrong. The human ships moved with impossible precision. They dodged, weaved, and rolled through the barrage with coordinated grace that defied physics. Vex watched in growing horror as 90% of his initial salvo missed completely. Humanity responds. Then the humans returned fire. What happened next will be studied in militarities for centuries to come, assuming any Enigma survived to attend them. The human weapons were different. They did not fire simple energy beams or explosive missiles. They fired projectiles that accelerated to relativistic speeds, turned corners mid-flight, and punched through Nigma shields as if they did not exist. They deployed swarms of micro-drones that attached to hull plating and burrowed inside, destroying ships from within. They used electromagnetic pulses that shut down entire vessels without destroying them, leaving them floating dead in space. The battle unfolds. Admiral Tau stood on the bridge of the UED's Perseverance, watching tactical displays with the calm of someone who had prepared for this moment for years. All wings execute pattern Delta 7. Focus on their command ships. Disable their communications network. Her orders were relayed instantly across the entire human fleet. 8,000 ships moved as one organism, executing maneuvers that would have taken other species hours to coordinate. They had practiced this dance 1,000 times in simulations. Now they performed it for real. The Nigma fleet began to break apart, not because their ships were destroyed, though hundreds were, but because they could not coordinate. Human electronic warfare specialists had infiltrated their communication networks the moment they arrived. Every order Vex gave was delayed, altered, or blocked entirely. Persistence in action. Vex tried to rally his forces, but chaos spread through his fleet like a virus. His ships were faster and more powerful individually, but they fought as separate units. The humans fought as a hive mind, each ship supporting others, covering weaknesses, exploiting openings. It was the ancient hunting strategy writ large across the stars. Separate the prey from the herd, exhaust it when it falters, strike with overwhelming force. Enigma battle cruiser would destroy 3 human frigates, feeling victorious. Then 20 human destroyers would appear from cloak and tear it apart. Enigma squadron would push forward aggressively. Human forces would retreat, luring them away from support. Then the trap would close. Commander's realization. 6 hours into the battle, Vex finally understood. He was not fighting a military, he was fighting a species that had spent 4 million years perfecting the art of killing. Every tactic the humans used had been refined over countless generations of hunting, warfare, and survival. They had fought with spears and swords, with guns and bombs, with tanks and aircraft. Now they fought with starships and weapons that bent the laws of physics, but the underlying strategy remained unchanged. Exhaust the enemy, make them desperate, then finish them. Commander, his tactical officer's voice broke through his thoughts. We have lost 60% of our fleet. Our formations have collapsed. Communications are compromised. We must withdraw. Pride meets reality. Vex wanted to refuse. The Nigma Empire did not retreat. The Enigma Empire did not surrender. The Nigma Empire conquered or died trying. But as he watched another dozen of his ships explode on the tactical display, he realized the truth. He was going to die. Here, his entire fleet was going to die. Here, unless he did something the Nigma Empire had not done in 10,000 years, he was going to run all ships, he said, his voice heavy with defeat. Emergency. Hyperspace jump. Random vectors scatter and regroup at Rally Point Omega. His crew hesitated for only a moment before executing the order. One by one, Nigma vessels began jumping to hyperspace. They left behind 3,000 destroyed ships and countless dead. They ran like prey, fleeing predators. No escape, but they humans were not finished. As Nigma ships prepared to jump, human vessels fired specialized missiles. These weapons did not explode. They attached to Nigma hulls and activated hyperspace tracking beacons. Vex watched in horror as the tracking system on his own ship began screaming warnings. Human ships were following. They would know exactly where every surviving Nigma vessel went. The hunt would continue. His flagship jumped to hyperspace, carrying him away from the battle, but he knew the truth now. There was no escape. Humanity would follow. They would pursue the Nigma Empire across every star system, just as Ambassador Chin had promised. The aftermath. On Genesis Prime, Admiral Tor stood at the observation window of the orbital command station below. The planet rotated peacefully. No bombardment had touched its surface. Not a single human civilian had died. She pulled up a communication channel to Earth Command. Admiral Tours reporting. The Nigma fleet has been routed. Casualties, 3,000 enemy vessels. Destroyed or disabled, 700 captured. Intact, our losses, 412 ships destroyed. 237 personnel killed in action. There was a pause on the other end. Then the voice of Fleet Admiral Chin, David. Chin's brother responded, "Well done, Admiral and the enemy commander." Torres smiled grimly, escaped with approximately 2,000 vessels, all tagged. With tracking beacons as planned, the message spreads. The Battle of Genesis Prime, as it came to be known, was broadcast throughout the galaxy. The Galactic Assembly watched the recordings. In stunned silence, the mighty Nigma Empire, conquerors of 6,000 worlds, had been decisively defeated by a species they considered primitive. Chancellor Morrows of the Athathuran Collective addressed the assembly 3 days after the battle. "Let this be a lesson to all civilizations. Humanity warned us what they were. We should have listened more carefully." He gestured to a display showing human fleet movements. "They are not pursuing the Nigma for revenge. They are pursuing them to ensure this never happens again. They will dismantle the entire Nigma Empire, not out of cruelty, but out of the same practical necessity that drove their ancient ancestors to hunt." The hunt continues across the galaxy. Human fleets moved with purpose. They did not rush, they did not hurry. They simply moved, constant and inexorable, following the tag Nigma vessels. Whenever Enigma ships stopped, human forces arrived within hours. The Nigma could not rest. They could not repair, they could not regroup. Vex fled from system to system, watching his empire crumble. His people sent desperate messages, begging for mercy. Humanity's response was always the same: unconditional surrender of all military forces, complete disarmament, acceptance of human observers on all Nigma worlds, and trials for all leaders involved in the decision to attack Genesis Prime. The price of arrogance. 3 months after the battle, Vex sat alone in the command chair of his flagship. His fleet had been reduced to 200 vessels. His empire was in chaos. Worlds that had been loyal for millennia were declaring independence. Species that had been conquered were rising in rebellion. The Nigma Empire was collapsing, and it was all his fault. A communication request appeared on his screen. He accepted it, knowing what he would see. Ambassador David Chin appeared, looking exactly as he had at the Galactic Assembly. "Supreme Commander Vex, your empire is finished. You have one final choice: surrender now, and your people will be treated fairly. Continue running, and we will hunt every last Nigma ship until none remain. Surrender." Vex looked at the human for a long moment. "You were right," he said quietly. "We should have listened." Chin nodded. "Yes, you should have, but pride is a powerful thing, Commander. It makes civilizations believe they are invincible. Humanity learned this lesson the hard way, fighting ourselves for thousands of years. We tried to teach you without bloodshed. You refused to learn." Vex's shoulders sagged. "What happens now? Now you surrender. Your people will be disarmed but not enslaved. Your worlds will be monitored but not occupied unless necessary. Your leaders will face justice, and the galaxy will remember what happens when someone ignores a warning from humanity." Lessons learned. Vex transmitted the surrender order to all remaining Nigma vessels. Within hours, the war was over. The Nigma Empire, which had stood for 10,000 years and conquered 6,000 worlds, ceased to exist as a military power. In the Galactic Assembly, species that had lived in fear of the Enigma for generations breathed sighs of relief, but now they looked at humanity with new eyes, not fear exactly, but profound respect. Earth had demonstrated something crucial. They were not aggressive conquerors, but they were absolutely lethal when threatened. Chancellor Morrows addressed the assembly one final time on the matter. Let it be recorded in all galactic archives. Humanity gave warning. They offered peace. They asked only to be left alone. The Nigma Empire chose war, and they learned the oldest lesson in the galaxy. Never corner a predator. The New Order. Admiral Tau stood once more at the observation window on Genesis Prime. Below, colonists continued their daily lives, farming and building and raising children. They had been protected. That was all that mattered. She thought about the ancient humans who hunted across African plains, following prey for days until it collapsed. She thought about her own ancestors who fought in Earth's countless wars, learning hard lessons about violence and peace, and she understood what Ambassador Chen had tried to explain to the Nigma. Humanity did not want war. They had seen too much of it, but when war came to them, they would wage it with the accumulated wisdom of 4 million years of survival. They would be patient. They would be persistent. They would be absolutely unstoppable. The warning had been given. The warning had been ignored, and now the galaxy knew the truth. Survival when you challenged humanity was not guaranteed.